It's been about a year since the last time that I've tested something from AllPowers. And when they announced the new R2500 power station, which is what we have here with us today, and the SP037 400 watt solar panel, I was really excited to get this and test it out, because on my last test with the S2000, that power station really surprised me, what I was expecting out of it. And I was expecting to be really surprised with this one. However, there are a couple things that I need to discuss that I'm not sure which side of the fence that I'm on, whether I like it or dislike it. Welcome everyone, I'm Justin. If you're new to my channel, I focus on building a more independent and sustainable lifestyle, building everything from complete solar systems to testing out units like we have here today with the R2500 power station, and anything else that might be energy related. And if you're into those type of things, consider subscribing to the channel, tap the notification bell so when I put out new videos, you get notified. And my goal by the end of this video is to provide you with content that you found helpful. And if I was able to achieve that, please be sure to remember to smash the thumbs up button. It really does help me out. Or leave me a comment and let me know that I did a good job. Over on the top left, we have 6 USB ports. 2 of them are USB-A 18 watts, and then 2 of them are USB-A 12 watts. I'm not sure why you would have the difference between 18 watts and 12 watts here. Personally, I would rather have 4 of these USB-C 100 watt outputs. Over on the right side, we have the DC output, a 12 volt 10 amp out, and 12 volt 10 amp car cigarette lighter out. And for the AC output, we have 4 standard 20 amp outlets. And that is pretty common on all these power stations now, to have these standard 20 amp outlets. This one's a little unique because it's a 3-prong 110 volt 20 amp like that. It's a bigger cable. Most of the time these are 30, but it's cool that they're offering at least a 20 amp outlet on this size of a power station. And this power station is compatible to be expanded in the capacity. So you have 2 ports that you can plug your cables in right here on the right side. And on the left side of the power station, you have the AC input, your circuit breaker that protects the unit for short circuit or something of that sort, and your solar input. So this is pretty common for power stations of this size to have 100 to 120 volt 15 amp max. That's common. The AllPowers almost always has this overload protector on them. Also, the solar input is common to have this type of input, but what is confusing is this 13 amps max. On their website, it shows that this is 20 amp max, and I'm confused. Are we maxed at 13 amps or are we maxed at 20 amps? So we need to figure that out, and hopefully I can have a answer for that by the end of this video. But we got to figure out, is this 13 amps max or is this 20 amps max? And behind me here, I have the 400 watt portable solar panel, the SP037. This thing's massive. It's basically 8 foot long and 40 inches wide. It's relatively heavy, or what you would think that it should be, but that's a good thing, because when the wind picks up just a little bit, you want it to have some type of weight to it, so just don't pick it up and carry it off, because it has so much surface area. But for the 400 watt solar panel, I'm pretty impressed with the overall performance of that, and plugging it into the power station does a fabulous job. So if you're interested in something like that, I'll have links in the description below for all this stuff. Go check those out. Hopefully I'll be able to provide you guys with a discount code to even save you more money, but everything will be in the links in the description below. And the first thing that I want to talk about is one of the things that annoy me about the R2500. And that is when you turn on the inverter, the fans automatically kick on. They're not extremely loud, but I'm not understanding the concept of this, because new modern power stations, when you turn them on the AC outputs, the fans don't automatically kick on anymore. That's something that happened in the older power stations. And now with this one, when you turn it on, that fan kicks on and it never kicks off. So I think it's important to see the type of sound that this system puts out when it has no load on it. So I'm seeing around 46 to 47 decibels, and that is something that I just don't like about it. And that's one of the only things I don't like about the R2500 is that those fans kick on anytime you turn the inverter on. Now that doesn't happen when you have the DC side on. It's only when you turn the AC outputs on and the inverter is going to go put power out of these. It's just strange that they did not make that where the fans would just sit on standby, and then when you put a load on it, then they would kick on. Or when there's a heat sensor that would kick on and the fans would turn on to cool down everything on the internals. So when we first turn this on, straight out of the box, and you hit that, the fans kick on. That's my biggest pet peeve about the AllPower. So if you come here to see my biggest pet peeve, you've already got it. I want to talk about the output and how well this thing performed, because it is a good power station. It's just, it's got a couple things that I think need to be refined, and then it would be 100% one of the better power stations, especially at the price range that this is coming in at, that you could possibly buy. Now we're going to do an output test. And this can get up to 1200, 1500 watts, depending on when you start it up. This up to 1500 watts, this up to about 800 watts. So we wouldn't be able to run all these together at the same time at startup, but we want to see if this is capable of 2400 watts, like they said on the output. So the first thing we need to do is turn this on. That will automatically turn on. So we should start seeing this kick on any moment. Now this does have a slower startup than I'm used to on some of them. That's not a bad thing, but just be aware of it. So right now we're using 526 watts from that. Now we'll flip this on. So come down, we're up to 1100 watts, 1200 watts, 13, 14. All right, now the heat gun. Now we're up to 19. Let's turn it up a little bit more. We got 2000, 20, basic to 2200. That one should put me over the top. 2400 or 23. Let's hit one more. There it went, 2400 over. Now we got everything running at the same time on high, every one of them. And we're at 2500 watts. So it can definitely do what it says it can do. Now we'll turn this down to around 2100 watts and let it run for a bit and see if it can do it continuously. Something that's important to point out is that we don't see this output number fluctuating so much. In some power stations, you see this go anywhere from 1800 all the way to 2300. I mean, it will really go up and down so much. Even on pure sine wave inverters, it does that, and I don't like it. This one is staying pretty consistent with its output when it's powering these three appliances. The answer to that question is, can it power continuously around that 2200 to 2400 watts? Obviously it can. I've put it through this test several times. I've not had any problem out of it. So we've already used 20% of the capacity of the battery, and we've had no issues out of it. Now the sandwich maker kicks on and off, and it just kicked off, so we went down to around 1600 watts. And that is very common with household appliances when you're using these, is that sometimes things kick on and off. And I'm glad to see that after around 20%, that kicked off and we come down to 1600 watts. When that kicks back on, then we'll go back up to 2200 watts. So let's say if you were using a refrigerator, it might kick on, a microwave might kick on for a short period of time, and then the other appliances would kick off. So this is the best real life scenario that I can give you guys by using this type of appliances. We have a heater that I could set to 2 different ranges, a heat gun that I could set to multiple ranges, and then this kicking on and off as it goes and heats up and cools down. So with around 1615 watts of output power, we got the fans kicked on. That sounds like the loudest I've heard it. And I'm gonna put my sound meter really close to the vents and see what type of reading we get. So right at 65 decibels, that's within, I mean, I'm almost touching that. So let's bring it back about 3 foot. And we're right at 55 decibels. That's the loudest that I've heard this power station actually kick those fans on. Not terrible, but definitely not the quietest power station that I've tested. Let's pay close attention to the minutes remaining versus the percentage remaining on the batteries. AllPowers has incorporated a safety feature to protect the batteries from over discharging that will shut this unit off at 5%. It's telling us we have 2 minutes remaining on our usage at this rate of discharge, and once it reaches 5%, it will shut down this unit to protect those battery cells. As soon as it hit 5%, it turned off the inverter. And it does this to protect the cells of that LiPo4 battery. You don't want to be discharging that battery at a high rate when you reach 5% or lower, because it can damage the cells of the battery. At first, I was not happy that it was stopping me at 5% and I couldn't use the remaining amount of the battery, because in other power stations, I could take them down to 0% and use the full capacity of the battery at whatever rate that I want. It's on me. That's the way I was thinking about it. But the more and more I use this, I actually like that it stops you at 5%. And I honestly think that more power stations should start incorporating this, because it's going to help the longevity of the power station. The batteries are protected from being over discharged at a high rate when you get down below that 5%. So my hat's off to AllPowers. This is the first unit that I've tested that does that. And at first, I'm completely honest with you, I did not like it. And there might be a lot of people out there that might not like this, but I really like the fact that they put in some type of protection against over discharge those batteries to help the longevity of the unit. And although the AC inverter is turned off, the DC outputs can still work. And you can take this down to 0% with 12 volt appliances like this. And the reason that you can do that is these do not discharge at a high output like these. So you see somewhere around 80 watts for that little air compressor, and that's not going to damage the cells like coming out of here at 2000 watts. And I did forget to mention, as you start to charge this back up and you get over that 5%, that you'll be able to use the AC output again. And the maximum that I'm seeing on the AC input charge is right at 1000 watts. And on their website, it says that this is capable of doing 1500 watts from the AC input side. So I need to determine whether this is 1000 watt max input from the AC, or is it really 1500 watts? And if it is, what am I doing wrong? And from within the app, you can change the charge rate of the AC input. And how you do that is you go to the 3 little dots, and then you look at the work mode, and you have 3 different settings. You have mute, standard, and fast. Mute will charge at a lower rate than the 1000 watts that we were receiving when we were doing it. It comes preset to standard mode, which is that 1000 watts. And I did find that if you change it to fast mode, then that speeds up your AC input to 1500 watts, meaning you can charge this unit much faster than 2 hours if you change it to fast mode. But it's going to come preset to standard mode, and that's how you change it. And as you get into the 90% area, it starts to slow down. And this is pretty typical with all power stations. The R2500 is going to take you about 2 hours to charge if you use just the AC input. If you use AC input and solar input at the same time, then you get a maximum of 2000 watts of input, and you can charge this power station in roughly an hour. Now we want to explore the app a little bit And to do this, to connect to the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, you should have little emblems up here. You go over here, press and hold this. And then that activates your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi. Within the app, you're going to click Bluetooth, and this tells you how to do it right here. But it was saying that you press the power button, but I just showed you what you need to press. Press next. This is the R2500. We'll press this. It's connecting, and then we are connected. It's that simple. So from within the app, we can see the input, the output. We could turn on the AC, the DC, and the ports for the DC here. We can change it from 60 to 50 hertz, and just different things you can see within the app. But I did want to show you how to connect the app to the actual R2500. Oftentimes I get the question, would I recommend a product that I'm reviewing? Not always do I recommend every product that I do a review on. If it is a good product, then I will definitely recommend it. And in this situation, the AllPowers R2500 is a product that I would recommend if you're in the market for a power station. And I would recommend the SP037 400 watt solar panel kit with this. So you could buy these two as a kit and actually be spending less money than what you would on similar power stations.